All right, ladies and gentlemen. Well, we've had a fun last week or so, getting ready for our Midwest trip. We've had a roller coaster of a ride here at home. Had some issues with our rig. We did some car swapping around. Had plan A, plan B, plan C. We've just been, trying to take all routes to make sure our Midwest trip can happen. Having our rig issues, which we haven't talked about here on the channel, has really thrown us for a curveball. So the team's been working hard. We just got the race car all fired up. I think things are starting to look really good. Let me catch you up on where things are at with Tanner Holmes Racing and what our plan looks like, as we have a huge stretch of races here coming up for our summer 2025 Midwest Tour. So as of a few days ago, everything was looking really good for our team. We were doing all the normal stuff. We got back from Dirt Cup, immediately washed the car, and started preparation, sat down on, what do these 2 weeks look like that we have off, because we had the week after Dirt Cup, and then, 4th of July weekend, before we're gonna leave, and then, take on all these races across the country. So Carly and I and everyone else, we kind of had a good game plan. It's like, all right, we need to do this, we need to do that, we need to do this, and with our engine program, with our cars, with our special Knoxville car, and design that we're also planning, which, adds a whole nother layer of things. Just making sure we had equipment and again, engines, because, we have different 410 engines and we're gonna be going to a lot of different tracks. So trying to plan out, when each engine needs to be ran. So when we get to the end of the year, the program's where we want it. So there's just a lot of stuff behind the scenes. Everything looked really good up until about a couple days before we needed to leave for the Midwest Tour, when our rig broke down. And it happened to my poor dad. He just was gonna have one thing looked at before we left, and as he was driving it through town, it went into limp mode and it had some sort of electrical issue where literally he was in an intersection and was stopped and could not get the rig to power back up and basically drive at least off to the side of the road. So anyway, this was a big ordeal right before literally the 4th of July. And like I said, we're basically planning on ready to leave. Everything looks good. And I'll tell you this, if you don't have a rig to tow all your stuff, you're not leaving the race shop or the driveway very easily. So we took it down to the local Freightliner dealer, and they spent a ton of time on it, but it was tough. We're kind of going into a holiday weekend, so we're scrambling on our end. My dad's in communication with those guys a ton. And now I'm not an expert on engines, but one of the best ways I can describe it from just at least talking to my dad. So our toter home has one of the older Mercedes engines in it. And so for any mechanics watching, from what I understand, it being a little bit older, not a lot of the mechanics, the younger guys have seen this engine. They're a little bit more difficult to work on. And so in a situation like that, it can just be a nightmare trying to find the problem. So immediately we started looking at a plan B and a plan C, just because this whole thing could take a while. You're praying for a miracle. So I put a post out on my end, possibly looking for a semi truck or an owner operator, someone that could drive us around, where at the same time my dad had put a post out on some toter home forums, what have been common issues, explained what our problem was, and then had a lot of people respond. Just a nightmare situation. So with all that, of course, we had a ton of support on both ends. He had a ton of people saying, hey, here's the problems we've experienced. And then, I had tons of messages of people reaching out. And with all this, the main reason I had done it is, again, just to kind of keep all my options open. Hey, what's it gonna look like if we get the toter home back running? What's it look like if we have to hire someone to maybe tow the trailer? Do we have some people actually closer to us than we think that maybe have an available semi, or have, an option that we could go down that route? So this is all happening right the 4th of July, day after. And then sure enough, as all of that's happening, we're kind of in waiting mode, but we do have some options if needed, away from the toter home. And again, thank you to each and every person that has reached out. I'm still going through and getting messages on people wanting to help. And so that means so much to have, you guys in our corner and making sure, man, one way or another, we're getting across the country. So here's where another curveball gets thrown into this. This has all kind of happened. We're waiting a little bit, but we're talking a lot. We're going through all our options. I get deathly sick. Serious. It was a 24-hour bug, but it was maybe the worst sickness I've ever dealt with in my entire life. Now, I know they say guys are dramatic, maybe a tiny bit, but I'm telling you, this was the worst sickness I have ever dealt with 2 days ago. And so I was, the toter home was out of service, I was out of service. It was bad. So luckily I made it through that. And this is, like I said, as I'm getting calls and texts and people reaching out, I'm not even, I wasn't even able to, I wasn't able to do nothing. Right as we're trying to prepare to leave, just the timing was not ideal, but luckily just overcame that within like the last day. As I was talking with some people close to me, I think I had something maybe lined up where if we needed a truck driver, or we had some people around us that we were gonna at least be able to maybe hit the road at some point. It's looking like the toter home is now, I don't wanna jump ahead of myself, but it's running, and they took it for a test drive. They had taken a lot of the wiring apart, put it back together. Again, I'm not an engine guy, so I don't know all the specifics, or I haven't even got a chance to really have a conversation. It's just been chaos around here on exactly, because my dad's really been dealing with that, and I appreciate him just like, man, he is on it. That is his thing for sure. And Carly and I have been dealing with everything for the race team and making sure that's all taken care of. At the same time, our Knoxville car is being wrapped, and we have equipment here at home. We're a little spread out. Like I said, it's just been chaos, because you're trying to get ready to go and you have everything set in place, and then everything changes. So I jumped a little all over the board there, but here's long story short. So all that happened, but at this current moment, like the Freightliner dealer here and whatnot, like they are claiming they think the toter home's okay. They drove it around, they went through everything, like it's running properly. And originally we were supposed to leave on Tuesday, July 8th, and now the game plan is to leave Wednesday, July 9th. So we're actually still, fairly in line with what our original plan was. Now, the only change as of right now that we're looking at as a team is I don't think we're gonna make Jackson Motorplex on this Friday. That was the original goal. They have a big $10,000 twin show. You guys know we love supporting Jackson. I ran there well with Shark Racing in 23, ran there a handful of times last year. I just don't know with our travel time and with all the circumstances of our team that we're gonna make it on Friday. And again, not because obviously we don't wanna be there, I just think it's gonna be hard to make it, and we want to really prioritize making sure we get to Knoxville, and then we have a day off, and then we get into a big week in Ohio, which if everything went to plan, we'd run like Fremont, we would run Attica, and then we have 4 nights at Eldora. So that's 6 races right there, 7 nights in 8 days. Then we have a bunch of TBAs and options the following week, another chance to run Knoxville, and then 360 and 410 Nationals. I think in total, like if we run all the races that we kind of can possibly run, we're gonna get between 18 and 22 shows in like 32 days. I mean, like it's an unreal schedule. So I'm feeling very, very excited. Hopefully, again, everything goes to plan. We finished firing up the car today. And the reason that our team is still working on the car is because it was looking like we weren't gonna be able to leave. Like this was kind of a little bit of a miracle to have the chance to leave Wednesday. So Carly kind of had a game plan to where we were gonna run a car right when we get out there, then we were gonna swap, put it upstairs, bring the other car down. So with just some unsureness, we kind of just brought the car that we were gonna run most of the Midwest in and engine package, and then the stuff that we were trying to save a little bit for the Nationals, we wanted to put that to the side. So more just ended up being extra work reorganizing. Wasn't like we waited till the last minute to do all this. It was just like all of a sudden last minute we had this thrown on us, and we wanted to try to at least be as prepared as possible for the situation we are in. So hopefully that gets you guys all caught up. That's where we are now at present moment. We got to finish loading everything this evening. I got to finish the merchandise trailer. Got to get, the toter's going to be back home. Get everything all rounded up, and then the plan is to leave first thing in the morning. So we're going to be bringing you guys along for every step of the journey. These last couple weeks with not as much racing, we've obviously been a little bit sideways. We're excited to get everything back on track. I'm feeling really good and just ready to, man, I just want to go racing and really want to get on a roll of night after night after night. That's what we all live for, from track to track to track, and now on some of the biggest stages in our entire sport. So we will see you guys all as we get ready to leave. And again, we're going to keep you updated for every step of the way, and just thank you guys for being here, and hopefully you're ready to see the 18T, the red 18T, and then the Knoxville 18T in a couple of weeks. We'll see you guys all out there as we begin our 2025 Midwest Tour. Deuces.